After the tone, please state your name, followed by the pound sign.
I'm sorry, we did not get your name.
After the tone, please state your name, followed by the pound sign.
I'm sorry, we did not get your name.
After the tone, please state your name, followed by the pound sign.
Okay, you. Yay! So, all right.
Not even everybody's here.
We're starting to record again.
Hey, how are you?
Are we live?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, we're live right now.
Everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. This is Mark Chesna from down in the bottom of the hills where their studio is. And Mark and Randy, who we talked to a couple times over at the dining facility, they're the ones that run that production studio down there, and for years have hosted us for, you know, when we used to do the talking head videos, and then all the way up through, you know, Ray's extravaganza last year. Where you were still a talking head, only out of the tree. Yeah. I've gone backwards. Everybody else kind of came out. But, yeah, so went down the hill. Mark was there, and the director here has required Mark to get extra ethics training because of his director, so I brought him along. He just wanted to come up and say hi. He's worked with so many of us here so far. Rainy's like the one sitting down she's like runs a lot of our training now. So,
Well, I imagine it probably because the door saw this was
maybe I wanted to see Trish. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Trish would be sick. Randy coming up, Steve? No.
Like anything that, you know, that if they're having. We didn't invite him. We only invited you.
Let everybody on the phone know we're still gathering here.
I'm gonna give you.
Oh, I like to use it for
I'm gonna have you.
Good job.
No, because it's not.
Yeah. Whatever.
Hey, everybody, we'll be starting up in about 3 minutes, okay? We're still letting people come in.
Wow, so maybe you were on webinar.
You guys are gonna be on, we're gonna introduce you to all the.
That's right, you did, and you're being you're being audio recorded too.
Yeah, there's a video camera, look.
And audio.
Just sit right here. Sit right here.
And do what?
Say hi.
Teach ethics.
Say hi to all the ethics people throughout the center.
Right, it's on that.
Hi, I'm Nancy Baumgart. I'm with U.S. Geological Survey.
Yeah, Nancy's been here.
As a face, I'm not sure what actually I'm doing here, but I just follow that all directions. So. Well, we really appreciate all the work you've done for us. Facility is great. You guys are fun. You guys are a fun group to have down there. So it always makes it easier when the people are not so anal and, you know, and that's, these people are always been good to work with. And, excellent.
Creative. You know, they always got creativity.
That's right. So. Rainey, this is Mark. Mark, this is Rainey.
I'm not sure why Ed told me to see you.
Hi, Mark. Nice to meet you.
Okay, Rainey's going to take over now.
I guess I'll go home.
Yeah. Just give him a quick brief on what you're going to cover, and he'll take it from there.
Okay. You ready?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a you want to talk
You guys you will definitely know each other. Mark, you know who Mark is from down the hill. The taping and stuff. Yeah.
Good or bad?
Good.
I mean, what's the conditional look there?
Yeah, I know. I felt that.
Making me feel that here.
No.
Because I told you not to do
Judgment is
that.
still out.
Oh, okay.
She wants to make up her own decision, not counting your, not counting your opinion.
It doesn't count. She doesn't trust my judgment.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, get out of your way.
All right.
Well,
Good to see you. Good to meet you.
All right.
yeah, dude.
I know, right?
Put her smiles.
So.
Yeah. So, has it been 3 minutes? Has it been 3 minutes?
Here is not on the screen there. care.
What do you mean?
Well, so for example, if it's from Lorraine, Luciana, to
Right.
everyone, a little smiley face over here, 3 minutes, no smiley face. So.
Oh, it's not scrolled down. It's not scrolled down over there. Yeah. Here, let me scroll it down.
I mean, I don't care, I'm just saying, yeah,
It could be important.
there we are.
There you go. Done. Okay. Woohoo! All right, I think that means we're going to begin. So, we are starting now on speaking engagements, those conference attendances, and some other types of invitations. And I'm going to hand it over to Nancy to begin this fact scenario and create a good foundation that we can grow from. Nancy.
Thank you. You may become aware very shortly that we are no longer going to be addressing seeking employment and post-government employment.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
We are moving into speaking engagement, conference attendance, and other invitations.
Yes, tricked you. Ha, ha, ha. We are done with the seeking employment and post-government employment, and now we are going to talk about our speaking engagements, which the good news is you only have like 8 more hours of this webinar video thing instead of 10 hours. No, just kidding. I think it's only 3.5 more hours.
Well, I'm Nancy Baumgartner. I'm the Deputy Ethics Counselor at U.S. Geological Survey. And in this session, we are not going to be giving you selections to pick from. So it's going to get a little bit harder on everybody. You're going to have to use your noggins. All right, so the first thing that we'll discuss is the conference scenario. This has been sent out to you, but for the benefit of the people that might have misplaced their documents or for whatever reason, I will read the conference scenario, and then we'll go through a number of questions regarding the scenario. Now, if you have questions that either myself or Rainey don't ask, please feel free to address them. And realize that sometimes changing just one fact in a fact pattern can change the answer. So, Dr. X has been invited to provide the keynote address at an annual meeting of a prestigious professional scientific organization that is attended by over 50 USGS scientists every year. The invitation includes an offer to pay the travel expenses of Dr. X, as well as a waiver of the $1,000 registration fee of the 3-day meeting. The registration fee includes all breakfasts and lunches, as well as a banquet on the last night of the meeting. Dr. X will be attending lectures and seminars throughout the course of the meeting, as well as discussing possible future collaborative scientific research with other attendees. And of course, this is in addition to providing the keynote address. So, out there in Assistant Ethics Counselor land, may Dr. X accept the offer? Can I get some yeses or nos?
Some thumbs ups and thumbs down. I got to get my glasses.
Do we have anyone online?
Oh, yeah, we have lots of people online. You missed it. They were, like, thinking and saying yes and no. But, you know, everybody's in a comatose from whatever snack that you've eaten at this moment. So come on, don't be shy. Can Dr. X accept this offer? What do you guys think? Oh, I get a thumbs up over here. We'll do a little panel of the decks that are here. Thumbs up or thumbs down, everybody? All right.
All right,
Okay.
we're getting a thumbs up that Dr. X may accept. And can I get a hello, I'm here from anybody out there? You don't even have to answer a question. I just want to make certain that we're projecting.
Hello.
Oh,
Yay.
thank you. Hello. All right. I feel much better now. All right, so moving on to the next thing. What forms does he need to fill out? Any ideas? And perhaps maybe it depends on certain things. Okay.
Ooh.
We have an answer that it appears that a DI-2000 would be in order.
That's from our peanut gallery here. What's the other title of the form? Does anybody out in the Ethernet know?
Isn't it acceptance of non-federal funds?
Acceptance of travel expenses from non-federal authorities, yes, or entity.
Yes.
Now, what about, what do you need to get in order to go on official travel? Is there any form that perhaps the people in this room needed to fill out in order to come to the NCTC today?
Travel authorization.
Yes, very good. Whoever that is, you're my favorite.
That's Kathy. I like being the favorite.
Ah.
All right. And what if this conference happened to be in a foreign country? Ooh.
You have to do international travel forms as well then.
Yes, that would be a DI 1175. Here's a trick question. Is there any country to which a DOI employee may travel where a DI 1175 is not required? Yes.
Ooh,
very good. We got
Margaret Bradley pulled that out. And can you repeat that again?
Yes. If an employee travels to Canada, a DI 1175 is not needed. Now, this may not be applicable to as applicable to everybody as those who might be living close to the border, as it were. But it can sometimes make a big difference with timing because DI 1175s do take a while to get approved. All right, so I have called this a meeting of a professional scientific organization. Does that mean he has to get, or can he say, I'm going to a meeting, I don't have to get conference approval?
Well, I thought conference approval was if we were holding the conference, not attending a conference.
Well, actually, that's a really good point. I did include in the materials that went out is that according to the USGS, this would be a conference, and I think that that is in accord with other bureaus. The way that a conference is defined is any gathering, retreat, seminar, symposium, or similar event that includes one or more of the following indicators: registration, published agenda, scheduled speakers, external participants, discussion panels, and breakout sessions. So we at USGS, again, according to our guidance, and I believe it's similar in other bureaus, is that if there is more than 30 people attending a bureau-hosted conference, or where 15 or more are in USGS travel status. So in this instance, since we had 50 USGS scientists who attend this meeting every year, we're presuming for the conference scenario situation that, again, this year 50 will appear. So since there is more than 15 USGS attendees, they do need to obtain conference approval.
And are there other bureaus, or does our headquarters have some nuances in regards to that?
We do, Rainey, but it's not in the ethics rules.
Okay.
It's left to our general law and administrative office.
Yes.
Can you repeat that for the people?
Yes. Melinda Lofton, our DAO, is here and has shared that there are some nuances for employees that are attached to headquarters, okay? So Office of Solicitor, Office of the Secretary, the Solicitor, IBC, and others, and that we would probably have to work through the Office of Solicitor.
And it doesn't come up, but I've been doing both. So.
If you're on the phone, make sure that you are on mute because we're live and recording. I guess we should tell people that too. We are being recorded.
We are being recorded, and you will need to mute your phones, please, unless you are going to share something with all of us.
So, Melinda, I think you made an excellent point, is that particular rule is not within the ethics realm. But as a full-service office, I'm sure that some of the deputy ethics counselors here can understand that oftentimes if you can just remind people that they might have an additional requirement, make certain that you provide them some of the knowledge that you've gained over the course of your vast experience, you're going to find yourself building a lot of goodwill. and it's just something as simple as, hey, listen, don't forget to go to that conference site and make certain that you comply with a particular instructional memorandum.
And Nancy, let's go back to your second question in regards to, is the meeting a conference? Why is that so important? Well, to understand that.
It will be important for the purposes of making certain we comply with the guidance of our bureaus and the department, but it's also going to be important for what he is going to be doing there and the fact that he is getting the conference fee waived.
And in regards to the gift of travel statute that we're working with, the 31 U.S.C. 1353, that kind of talks about what events can be defined as a meeting, so that we can, so the agency can accept this as a gift of travel.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Excellent.
Cool. Oh, yes. Question?
Yes. I was just wondering, if it's a 3-day conference and if his speech is only for 1 day, does that mean he can only accept the travel expenses for the time he'll be there to give the speech, or can he accept the travel expenses for the entire conference?
The way that the scenario is designed is that he would be there and interacting and attending seminars and lectures so that he would be involved in the conference. So, yes, he would be able to be there for the entire time.
And that's a really good question, because a lot of people, and this is one of the reasons why we brought this specific presentation up, because a lot of people don't understand that there are actually, you have a lot more tools in your ethics toolbox in regards to our federal government employees participating or attending conferences, okay? So the person on the phone that just asked that question, I don't know your name, but you asked something in regards to, this person is going to be a speaker, okay? Well, when we're talking about speaking engagements, being a speaker, all right, that goes into your gift regulations, all right, your 5 CFR 2635-204 G1, okay? But that is specific, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. That can be, you can actually accept that anywhere you are, whether you're in your local area, and Nancy's going to expand to that, or if you're going to be flown somewhere to go present that. Right now what we're working on is the gift of travel statute, okay? And that just means, hey, if your supervisor and your ethics office, you know, does the conflict of interest and deems that this is a permissible event that you can, that the person who's been invited can attend, and it doesn't matter whether you're speaking or not, and it doesn't matter whether it's 2 days or 3 days or 1 day, okay? So that was a very good question, because you do kind of need to understand that there are different ways that you could potentially accept this offer of conference gift. Nancy.
All right, so we've talked about 1, 2, and 3. That is, we know what forms he needs to fill out. We have an idea of what approvals he needs to obtain. We've determined that the meeting is a conference, and since a non-federal entity is paying his travel expenses, he does need to obtain Bureau approval to attend. So the question is, may Dr. X accept the offer of travel expenses? I want to make certain that I point out that Dr. X can accept things in kind on behalf of the Bureau or the department, but it's not going to him personally. If he is given a check, he must say, thank you very much for the check, but you must make this out to USGS. You may not pay me directly, because USGS, or in the instance of the Bureau or the department, they are the ones that are accepting it under 31 United States Code 1353. What sort of things would need to be on the DI-2000 that he files? We've indicated in the scenario that they're providing his travel expenses, but what sorts of things might fall under travel expenses? If you were going on your way to the common carrier,
So we just had someone who said, how about once you're at the conference, taxis that are kind of taking you to and from hotel to the conference event, you know, to and from the airport. That's good. What else?
Out there in AEC land, what other things would you put on the DI-2000 for this particular individual?
Do you think they're going to expect this person to just use their arms and flap to the conference event, or how do you think they would get there?
Well, they get paid for transportation,
so
lodging, and per diem.
So you said transportation, lodging, and per diem. Yeah, so that's good.
And that's a real good point, because sometimes we have instances where the conference organizers will say, we'll buy your ticket.
Can they do that? Can they just buy the person's ticket in that person's name? I mean, everything's electronic nowadays, so can they just do that and that person gets to just use that ticket?
Yes.
Correct.
That is right. That would be considered an in-kind, okay? And per the statute and the regulation that comes along with the statute, you can actually accept in-kind. So if for instance, the person or organization who is gifting the agency for your attendance to this conference pays for the hotel, okay, and just wants to pay the hotel outright, they can do that. Pays for your airfare, they can do that. What they can never do, like what Nancy said, is give you a check in your name or give you cash.
Yes, and you might be surprised that that does still happen in this world. So we have determined that it's lodging, travel expenses. What about the registration fee? Should that be on the DI-2000? Yeah.
That's right.
So it's being waived, so we're accepting that as a gift to the agency, but we're including that in the travel expenses.
Yeah, a lot of people get confused with you know, a registration fee being waived. Because they hear free to them, they then feel like there is no cost cost to, I don't know who, the person who's, or the organization that's gifting them. You have to remind people that, okay, yes, it's free to you, but there is a cost involved, and that cost, we need to record that cost, okay?
Now, do you have to, if it's G1, if they are speaking, do you have to include that cost on the DI-2000?
If we're doing a G1, which we'll talk about in a little while, so our question was, but what if it's just a speaking engagement and you're going to accept it under the 2635.204 G1, okay? That's going to be different, okay, because we're going to talk about this later. It's not the gift of travel. And I don't know if all of you know this, I'm sure you probably do, but we actually have to report our gifts of travel to the Office of Government Ethics on a biannual basis.
That's every 6 months.
And so, thank you, semi-annual, yes. And so that's why this is so important, okay, to all of us.
It's important, too, to get the DI-2000 from the traveler before they travel. Now, they do have to give us an estimate. They may not know exactly what the precise amount of costs are. The way that we do it at USGS is we say, give us your best estimate and come back to us after you've gotten back and you have your travel receipts, and we will update our records so that the report that we file with the Department of the Interior, which subsequently goes to the Office of Government Ethics, is as accurate as possible. And I don't know how many people have as many people traveling to provide keynote addresses as the USGS, but last fiscal year we accepted over $900,000 in travel expenses from non-federal entities for our scientists to go and do just this sort of thing. Go to conferences and provide keynote addresses and be on panels and to participate in symposia. So I'm getting a hand from Michelle McClure of BOEM. She also has a great deal of scientists who are in high demand. And that's a testament to the worth of what people consider our scientists to be to their organizations. Now, I did then toss in, well, before we move on, does anybody have any more questions about the DI 2000, what should be on there, how it should be obtained?
And does everybody understand the difference between cash, in kind, you know, a check to the government, actually, to USGS, those are, or BLM, or National Park Service, you know, whatever bureau we're talking about. That's really, really important. Because, again, this is a gift. You have to always remind the person who's been invited. This is a gift to the agency. This is not a gift to them.
Okay, now I'm going to throw in an additional wrinkle, because let's say same scientist, same meeting, but local. He does not get on an airplane and fly away. In fact, he's between 30, he's less than 50 miles away from his duty station or residence.
It would be covered under a widely attended gathering, though, probably, depending on the more information.
There is a possibility that that could be accepted, and also, I don't know which bureaus have gift acceptance authority, but if an entity has gift acceptance authority, or rather if a bureau has gift acceptance authority, we can accept some of what is being offered under our contributions authority. However, let's say it was under that 50 miles, would he be able to stay in a hotel just because it was offered and USGS didn't have to pay for it?
Oh, hold on one second.
Discussions and dinners and where business was discussed, and it would be beneficial to the agency for that employee to participate in those discussions.
So again, we have another deck, Armando, who has said that it may depend. Of course, it's always going to be based upon what your bureau's policy and rules are. And again, it's important to talk with your deck in regards to that, because some agency bureaus may not allow that period. But what Armando said was, well, you know, you kind of have to look at the facts. You always have to look at the facts, right? Just the facts, ma'am. And if the facts show that by this person having to drive back and forth, that they're going to miss certain engagements that are kind of crucial to the reason why they're attending the event, that there may be an exception to that. Nancy, how would you respond to that?
I think that you're absolutely correct, both you and Armando. However, there are various levels of authority as to who can grant this. And believe me, it does not go to the supervisor. This is at a very high level within the Bureau. At the Department of, at USGS, it is the Deputy Director who would decide. And even then, the Deputy Director would be very, very hard-pressed without exceptional circumstances if it would be for temporary duty travel within 30 miles of both the employee's duty station and residence. That may only be granted by the Assistant Secretary for Policy, Budget, and Administration.
And Nancy, I think you also need to highlight that now that Nancy has changed the fact scenario, we are no longer in the gift of travel statute, okay? Because the 31 U.S.C. 1353 cannot be accepted within the local area of that person's, local area. Do we call it duty station or not here? Okay.
Yeah. And the key is, can the person be put on a travel authorization? And if they're not on a travel authorization, then 31 United States Code 1353 does not apply.
And so then with the change of the facts that Nancy's provided, then we walk into the situation where do we look at this as to what Michelle had pointed out with a speaking engagement. Some of you had said widely attended gathering, so maybe a G1 or a G2, that's 5 CFR 2635.204 G1 or G2, or, as Nancy has said, her bureau has some gift to agency authority, that sometimes you can accept it under another authority, not the gift of travel, but another authority. And DOI headquarters has sometimes the ability to do that too. Of course, as Melinda has pointed out, when we talk of gift to agency in regards to gift to agency, not gift to travel, that's still in the ethics arena, but when it comes to a gift to agency, we actually have to coordinate with general law in the solicitor's office.
Well, I was going to poll the folks here, who in the various bureaus also works on gifts to the agency, because at USGS that does fall within our area of responsibility. And I'm getting a hands up from Erica Armani and from Michelle Bohm and Michelle McClure Bohm and Donnie.
Vetted through various stations, departments within the bureau.
Right. And I see Matt.
You have to repeat that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Donna said that it was vetted through various parts of her organization.
Then there's also the training statute.
Yeah, and that's another tool in your ethics toolbox, and right, exactly. We're gonna discuss that too. Yes, Matt Parsons has pointed out that not only could this be a speaking engagement or a gift to agency, but potentially could this be accepted under the training statute. We're actually going to have a specific scenario that addresses the training statute. But yes, with the facts that Nancy has changed this scenario to, you could potentially accept this under the training statute. We'll go into detail a little more on that in our last scenario.
Right, and just for the knowledge of folks on the phone, that is 5 United States Code 4109.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that.
So, moving on to if we're ready to move on from the issue of local travel and realizing that if it's local, we have a number of different issues that come up, although the registration fee can be accepted under a number of different aspects or a number of different authorities.
Are we local now still?
No,
Nancy, or are we back at the...
I'm going to move on back to travel.
Okay, so we're back on travel now. Okay.
Okay.
So this person's on a travel authorization.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're back on a travel authorization, but he wants to take his wife with him. What wrinkle does that add? All right, Kira, it could be more money. If she is going to be going, let's say
if she's going to be going and the person who invited them is going to pay, right?
Correct. It just can't be a free, oh, hey, bring your wife too, because, you know, we saw her last conference and we'd love to see her again, and, you know, we'll buy tickets for her too. No, Randy's absolutely correct, and so is Mark. You have to be an integral part of the program, and that doesn't mean just sitting at the front table. I don't see very many situations where the wife of an attendee is an integral part of the program. However, let's say if the wife says, fine, honey, I'll buy my own ticket, but I really do want to be with you, and, you know, we'll fly on my own expense. Can she stay in his hotel room? I'm getting if it doesn't cost anything to the government, then yes, they would be able to stay in the hotel room. Let's say that she also wanted to attend the banquet, and the organization said, oh, we'd love to have her come to dinner. Is this a situation where Dr. X should pull out his personal checkbook and pay for his wife's dinner? Yes.
That's good. I have no comment.
All right. So switching to a little bit different area of this particular fact scenario, a lot of times these conferences have extracurricular events attached to them. In other words, that not only can you go to the conference, but in this scenario, there's also a optional field trip. The sponsor or the conference organizers have said that they would be happy to pay for Dr. X and his wife to attend this optional field trip. And in this particular scenario, Dr. X's talk has nothing to do with how grapes are grown. So, who has to pay for the optional field trip? On the phone?
Uh-oh. Oh, say that again?
Dr. X should pay for he and his spouse to go.
So we have a Dr. X should pay for him and his spouse to go. Yes. What do we think?
I concur. Even though, as Marcus pointed out, concur is a bad word to use these days.
The question is in regards to Dr. X's spouse. He and his spouse want to attend an optional field trip to a nearby winery, right? And so the question is, does the people who invited Dr. X to attend want to comp him this winery? So does he get to attend for free, but he has to pay for his spouse? Do they comp both of them? Do they get to both attend for free? Does it matter if it happens before the conference or after the conference or during the conference?
Well, I would say, Rain,
it's going to be discussed.
Yeah.
The only way that such an event would be, yes.
I'm a little confused on that, and I'm looking at the Susan Kimball document that you put in the package, and the second paragraph there talks about federal funds may not be used for non-technical conference or meeting events.
Yes.
The non-technical event takes place during normal work hours. Employees must be on approved leave to attend the event. If a non-technical event takes place after duty hours, employees may attend as long as federal funds are not used to pay for the event. Is that what's meant by, for instance, the grape growing example that you're using?
Oh, I wanted to make certain that there was no way that the winery trip was related in any way whatsoever to what Dr. X was talking about.
Okay, what, and now I'm confused things, and you guys can say, get out of the room, Melinda. Does this mean by this wording that, okay, non-federal funds they're not going to be used, but what if some other outside organization plans on paying for people to attend this? Can the employee accept and their spouse under that?
Can you repeat the question?
Right, I think I will. So the question was, first of all, what was sent out in the packet is that federal funds may not be used to pay for non-technical conference and meeting events. That is, that fun is had at an employee's expense and not accepted as a gift to the agency. It must be at the employee's expense. But the question was, with regard to what Melinda has raised, is what if it wasn't this conference organizer folks that are offering this, but what if it was some other entity just offering a gift of attending a wine and cheese tasting to Dr. X and his lovely wife, irregardless of regardless of where they were.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I guess I kind of made it number 5 on your list.
No, I mean, and then there's no problem with that, because I think that we have two different issues. One is you have to pay for things on your own when whether the conference can't pay. But now you're saying, well, what if just somebody out of the blue wants to pay for somebody to attend something fun?
Right.
Then we get into many other potential areas, which is the wine and cheese tasting perhaps a widely attended gathering that happens to have wine and cheese tasting involved? So I think your point is excellent, Melinda, because as facts change just a little bit, we move into different authorities that can be accepted. And this was specifically related to conferences and meetings and was specifically designed to address an issue that had arisen with regard to what could be accepted. When we were starting to look at what people were being offered, we saw that oftentimes they were being offered the extracurricular activities which were not related to their discussions and not related to the USGS business. So that was the impetus for this.
And I do, and Ed, we have another question in our audience here, and Ed, we're going to let you ask that in a second. But again, your ethics toolkit, okay? And what Melinda's talking about is that, look, just because that opportunity, that social opportunity may not be able to be accepted under gift of travel, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a second, there may be in your toolkit something else that will allow that individual and maybe their spouse to still attend it under our ethics rules. So don't just send them away and say no, 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 no. There may be an ability for you actually to say yes for them. The other thing is, and I need to hear from everybody here, is that the conference rules or whatever, our ethics rules, kind of talk about events that are within the conference itself. And so let's say that this was an event that all attendees were, this was part of the conference, all attendees were invited to go, okay? And so they received that $1,000 conference fee, which this was part of that conference fee. Do we all agree then, not the spouse, because the spouse didn't get a free conference fee or whatever, but for Dr. X, could he attend this wine and cheese event then if it was part, not optional, but part?
I'm interested in what.
I want to hear too. I want to hear too.
Yeah, I would say that at USGS we would not allow that particular portion. They would have to be on approved leave to attend the event, and if there would be, they would have to be somehow, well, I don't really see how a wine and cheese tasting could be integral to a conference. Maybe that's the better way to approach it.
What if you offered to pay fair market value for the...
Exactly. Yeah, that is what I'm saying, is that the employee would have to pay.
Or maybe look, we take a look and say, is this a widely attended gathering or something like that? But hold on, hold your thoughts. Ed, go ahead and ask your question or comment.
The 31 U.S.C. 1353 is different from G2 or G1 when it comes to these social events, if you will. And it really, they're tough, and you kind of have to get down into the regs and all, but in the 41 CFR 304-2.1, which is the definitions for the regs that implement 1353.
Can you say that one more time, Ed? Could you type that into the little chat thing? 41
CFR
304-2.1. Yeah.
These are definitions, and the definition of travel, subsistence, and related expenses, or in parentheses, travel expenses, means the same type of expenses payable under Chapter 301 of this title. Essentially, I think, temporary duty travel.
Right.
For transportation, food, lodging, or other travel-related service for official travel, et cetera, et cetera. It also includes conference or training fees. As well, and this is where it starts to get different from G1 and G2.
Right.
As well as benefits that cannot be paid under the applicable travel regulations, but which are incident to the meeting, state integral, incident to the meeting, provided in kind, and made available by the meeting sponsors to all attendees.
To all attendees, like I said.
Made available.
Made available.
Not required, not necessarily a mandatory event.
Right.
Made available to all participants.
But all of them have to be invited. It can't be just specific. They can't hear us. I know they can't hear him. Yeah. So we're going to No. Essentially what Ed has said was he read...
Here's what's important.
Well, come over here, Ed, if you're going to talk that long.
We're getting another member of our team. Come on down, Ed.
Don't tell them that she's doing that.
It says this is what's acceptable under 31 U.S.C. 1353. It includes training and conference or training fees in whole or in part, as well as benefits that cannot be paid under the applicable travel regs, but which are incident to the meeting, provided, and incident doesn't say integral, but incident to the meeting, provided in kind, and made available by the meeting sponsors, not someone other than the meeting sponsors, to all attendees. So like everybody's welcome to attend. All attendees are welcome, invited to attend,
Correct.
But not necessarily mandatory. Goes on to say, for example, this definition is applied, as this definition would allow an employee or spouse, if the spouse could otherwise accept under 1353, to attend a sporting event hosted by the sponsors in connection with the meeting that is available to all participants.
Right. And so,
however, it would not allow the employee to accept tickets to a professional sporting event, concert, or similar event for use at a later date, even if such tickets were given to all other participants. So under G1 and G2, as you pointed out, you know, it has to be integral to the event.
Right.
Everybody is expected to attend. Then you could accept that.
Right. So what you need, you need to take away from this, okay, is that it's part of the conference event, not a gift for that person to use later, okay, but it's part of the conference event. Everyone has been invited, okay, so it's not optional like Nancy was talking about.
It is optional.
No. It's not optional in the sense of that people can raise their hand and it's not, they weren't given it within their conference fee, okay? Optional in regards to this fact pattern, okay? She made it Nancy made the fact pattern for the winery optional, which means that it wasn't within the, it's after the conference, it's not part of the conference, okay? I understand you're talking about incidental, let me finish. So in other words, it's on the conference event, everybody's given a ticket or whatever to attend it, okay? And then that, if someone has been given the conference fee, the sponsor has invited that person and paid for their conference fee, then they can attend that event. Now, in regards to your bureau, you certainly, if you have a situation like this, and whenever you're being given a gift of travel or any type of conference or speak engagement, you should always ask for a copy of the agenda, a copy of what's going on at that conference or that speaking or that training event. And if it's in the agenda, then you talk with your DEC and see, is this permissible and all of that based upon bureau rules and policies and stuff. But that is different. And let me tell you, 41 CFR 304-100s and 200s, I think it's that whole reg, is a great explanation of the gift of travel statute. And so I highly recommend that you look at that. You can learn a lot about the actual intent of you know, what the statute was intended to be used for and all that. Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay. I would also encourage people to go and look at the conference agendas on the website, because what you're going to see is a wealth of information. You're going to see who's been invited as far as keynote presentation speakers, what they're going to be doing, and usually you'll see a breakout of what the conference costs. So in this incident, in this particular situation, if the registration fee included all these events, incident 2, noting what Ed had mentioned too, versus the conference fee is $1,000, we're waiving that for you, and for 50 extra bucks, you may go on this wine tasting tour. That they're also offering him the $50 attendance of the wine tasting. That would not be as able to be accepted. I'm looking for some sort of affirmation. If it's a separate fee, that would make it more difficult to have it be accepted under the authority of
Yes.
1352?
Yes, more than likely, of course, everything's going to be fact specific, but more than likely, in a situation like that, again, it has to be, is it coming from the conference sponsor or not? Did they intend it to be part of the conference? You know, I mean, there could be, but there could be situations where it might be able to still be accepted, but again, you have to be careful and you have to take a look at that agenda and see if there are other events that are outside of the conference schedule, conference agenda. And a great example, and to go into what Melinda was talking about, is let's say, and we know that a lot of these conferences, there are other organizations that participate or other entities, and one of those entities wants to have a reception or wants to have some sort of dinner or something, okay? And they just want to invite the speakers, okay? What do we do now? Matt?
Well, I guess I had a question. I just wanted to make sure for my own understanding. When we say, for the purposes of this fact pattern, is this part of the conference event or is it not?
For the purposes of the fact pattern where Nancy has said that it's optional, it's not part of the conference.
It was intended to not.
The way it was written, it appears that it is part of the conference.
Well,
That's it, and that's how it's until now, which is why
I don't necessarily think the word optional makes a big difference here, that whether or not they have the authority to attend doesn't mean it's not.
Well, and hold on, let's say, so, and then Jeffrey Davis just said, just because so some people are arguing whether it was actually part of the conference event or not. For purposes of Nancy's rules, it was not part of the conference, okay? But if you're going to say that it is part of the conference, then it can be optional whether they want to attend or not, and it can be part of.
actually, I disagree. It's either part of the conference or it's not. Whether Nancy under USGS rules decides it can be accepted.
No, I'm talking about the fact pattern, and we're saying that Nancy wanted this to be outside of the conference event. Exactly, a separate.
On the word option.
Yes,
I think
separate.
A separate event after the conference, a wine tour.
There we go.
It's separate.
I would actually like to add on to something that Jeffrey just said. One of the things that Jeffrey just said is what I want to focus on.
Hold on. Listen. Okay. Hello. Aren't you guys excited about this?
Okay, so
this is real TV.
One of the things I want to go back to is what Jeffrey just said. And what Jeffrey just said is just because he may not have the authorization to go. And I would posit that this memorandum from the deputy director of USGS saying, we don't want our people to be in wine and cheese tastings when they're going out to work with professional scientific organizations on USGS time, kind of has a little bit of an override. That is, this is guidance to supervisors that we don't want our people to be, taking these optional tours on government time. And
but again, that's going to be facts. Hold on, Melinda.
I just want to make a response to what Nancy just said, and I think this is so important because what she's talking about, I'm going to say, is probably in response to the whole GSA conference scandal. So if we put our discussion in that context of heated, you turn on your TV, you have conferences, you have people doing whatever the dance is, or what else do they do?
Ukulele songs.
Whatever, they're hulas, and then it's on TV. What they're trying to avoid here is USGS employees going to be a speaker at a conference and then being filmed going partying at the wine and cheese bar on official time. And so I think it's very separate from when we're talking about, and it doesn't really, I know there's words in optional or words in separate or words in available, but I think this is a response to that, so it should be kept in context.
So those of you on the phone, just what Melinda said is that let's look at this in context of our conference situation and realize that we can, as organizations or heads of organizations, make rules a little bit tighter for people so as to avoid the appearance of people benefiting from their public office.
Right, and it's just important that you work with your DECs to make sure that you're following your Bureau's rules and policy in regards to this, okay?
All right. Excellent discussion, and it shows how important it is for us all to work with the people who are traveling, because there can be, as Melinda pointed out, a widely attended gathering that may be associated with, but with separate from a conference, that we would be able to have our employee attend if it was in the interest of the USGS.
And so
excellent conversation.
And so that kind of circles back to what my next fact pattern, not that one, but that in regards to Dr. X has been invited to this conference as a speaker, and there's another organization, not the conference sponsor, but another organization that's there and has decided that they want to have a speaker's dinner. And Dr. X has been invited to this. Can Dr. X attend?
It depends.
What do you mean it depends?
How many people are going to be attending?
Ah, okay. So we're looking at then the widely attended gathering, potentially.
We are.
Aha, okay.
And I think we should move into the widely attended gathering scenario with just one wrap-up on this one, and that is that when Dr. X files his travel voucher, he must annotate all travel expenses that he or, in this instance, USGS, since he's accepting on USGS, received from the organization and not voucher for those expenses. What we don't want is somebody being able to benefit from his public office. Okay, on to the next scenario, unless we have any questions or comments on the phone.
Okay, so we've talked about gift of travel. And now you have that, hopefully, in your toolkit, or you've had it and maybe we've straightened it out or made it even more confusing for you. We've talked about speaking engagements, which we'll talk more, and we've talked about widely attended gatherings, and we've also talked training and statutes. But what about a widely attended gathering? Let's give a fact scenario that would address that. And that's your Dudley Do-Right. So he's a senior advisor to the area manager of DOI Bureau, and he's been invited to a local, in his local area, fundraiser for the Friends of Federal Lands. The fundraiser is also an award event to honor the biggest Friends of Federal Lands of the year. Mr. Do-Right contacts your office because he thinks he can attend this event for free. The Friends of Federal Lands has invited him as their guest. The ticket price is $1,000. Private industry, media, local, state, and federal government will be in attendance. This is the event of the year for federal land lovers. Mr. Do-Right is an OGE 278 filer, so the questions are, can he attend? You know, what are the potential issues, and under what statute or regulation can he attend or not attend? So let's talk about what can he attend? Do we think that he can attend?
On the phone?
Ghost Town. Anybody? Anybody want to say privately? Do we get any yeses or nos, Margaret, out there?
Yes.
Can he attend? Okay, so someone says yes. Good, good.
2 people have said yes.
2 people have said yes. All right, all right.
Can we scare everybody else?
I think so. Anybody?
There are always nuances.
Anybody in our peanut gallery? Okay, got some head nods, thumbs up.
He can go.
He can go. Okay, all right. So
we haven't said which capacity or who pays.
All right. So we're saying he can attend, but can he attend in and accept the $1,000 ticket to go to the fundraiser Does he have to pay? Is that what we're saying? Well, what are we looking at? What do we think that we're looking at? Widely attended gatherings, right? So under 5 CFR 2635.204G2. All right? So hopefully you have your little Code of Federal Regulations, and you open that up, and it kind of goes through a analysis of, all right, can he attend? Well, the first thing you have to know about widely attended gatherings is it's a hybrid, all right? And I call it a hybrid because it's considered a personal gift. It's considered a gift to that individual, but at the same time, there needs to be an agency interest in that person attending that event, okay? And for the most part, because it's a gift to that individual, you as the individual need to be in some sort of leave status. So when we look at these events, most of the time they're going to be held after hours, not on duty time. So it could potentially be at a lunchtime or at evening time, but usually not during your work hours. Are we going to use the widely attended gathering rules? Yes.
We have a question.
Yes.
Can he accept $1,000?
We're about to talk about that, okay? So that's the rub, isn't it? And so, okay, so one of the rules, okay, so let's decide, look, he's a senior advisor to the area manager of a DOI bureau. What does Department of Interior and what do most of your bureaus deal with? Federal lands, right? So more than likely, there is an agency interest in this person attending this event, okay? Now, because the price tag on this ticket is $1,000, when you're looking at our DI 1958, okay, which, by the way, on our new website, all of the forms are there, and they should be fillable, PDF fillable for you now. So please tell your clients to go to that new website. All they have to do is Google DOI ethics, and it'll come up, and go to the forms page. They will look at that, and one of the things in regards to the $1,000 price tag is Dudley Do-Right, does he have anything, is he making any official decisions for or part of the official decision-making for something that the Friends of Federal Lands is doing? Is there a cooperative agreement out there? Is there some sort of thing going on? And this is why they're giving him that ticket of $1,000, because you need to take a look at that, right? Okay. So Dudley Do-Right says, nope, I don't have anything on my table at the moment that's dealing with Friends of Federal Lands. Okay, good. So that's a green light, and that's very exciting. And then the other thing for him, and then the other thing is Friends of Federal Lands. Are they the actual sponsor of the event? And since we said that this is a Friends of Federal Lands fundraiser plus kind of award benefit, award ceremony, we can safely believe that Friends of Federal Lands are the actual sponsors of this event, which means under the rules that this ticket could be $10,000. Now, we might not like that, and it might not look good for us to allow someone to privately accept a $10,000 ticket, fundraising ticket, but the point is, under the rules of G2, if it's the sponsor who is inviting you and paying for your ticket, then we don't have a limit on the cost of the ticket, okay? But if it was coming from someone else, let's say that your state Bureau of Land Management wants you to go and sit at their table, and they pay for your ticket. Well, then, do we have an issue? Erica, you said we do. She's shaking her head ardently. What's the issue? There's a limit on the ticket price, she said. What's the limit, Erica? Oh, yes, and it is $375. Just recently, it used to be $350, and if you haven't gotten the rules, if you haven't gotten the OGE message yet, $375, the foreign gifts statute has upped the amount that people can accept foreign gifts from foreign entities to $375, and therefore all the other rules that kind of follow that have upped the acceptance. So it would be a ticket worth $375 or less that individual can accept. And so that's why on that 1958 form, it does really matter who's giving you the gift of that ticket, because there's going to be a limit on, you know, whether you can accept it from a non-sponsor of that event, okay? The other thing is I've put in here that you have, this is an OG 278 filer. Why do I have that? What is a ding-a-ling thing that we have to remember in regards to our OG 278 filers? Pam, sorry to put you on the spot. There we go. What though, Pam? If it's, they have to put it on, what's the cost? The cost, if it's anything above or below, what's put on their OG 278? Okay, so the gift is $1,000, $1,000 ticket, okay? So, and remember, even though there is an agency interest in this person going, it's still considered a gift to that individual. So if they're an OG 278 filer, they have to disclose the $1,000 ticket, right, on their OG 278. Let's say that the ticket is $300. Do they have to report it on their OG 278? It's $1,000, but I just changed it to $350. So I just changed it to $350. The ticket is now $350. Do they have to disclose that on their OG 278? OGE 278? No. Okay? And so, yes, Ed.
Could you come up and speak? It'll just be easier for everybody, I think.
And there's a distinction between valuation for the purposes of accepting under the WAG exception and what you report on your 278. You can subtract away the cost of, I think it's food and refreshments, for the purposes of what you report on your 278.
So you're going to have to give an example of that.
So I think, let's say I think this is probably how it would shake out at a fundraiser, you know, where you get, oftentimes they indicate that, it's a $1,000 ticket, but really the cost of the dinner is $150. And so everybody goes, oh, well, it's worth $150. Well, no, for determining value for WAG, it's the ticket price, so it's $1,000. Let me stop and back up, because here's what they say. It's the dinner is worth $150, so everything above that, the 800 or what, 850
is a tax write-off.
Is a tax write-off.
Correct.
So everybody thinks, oh, well, it's worth $150, so that's the value of this gift. Well, that's not true. The value is the ticket price of $1,000. However, then you have to do a different analysis for, does it have to be reported on my 278, and there you have to look at what is its value, and if it was that scenario where the meal is $150, then you would subtract that $150 off of the $1,000. So what goes? It's still $850, right. So it's above the $375, so it's required to be reported, and you report the $850.
So are we tracking on that, everybody? The point is that, and again, call your decks in regards to this if you have a situation like this, but the point is that if you have a $1,000 ticket and the sponsor tells you this is the charitable deduction or this is the cost of the food, then you get to minus it, minus off the food, and still determine what the cost of that ticket is that has to be reported. So if it's over $375, then it's going to have to be reported on the OG-278 filer. And believe me, in our office, that sometimes makes a huge difference, okay? Yes. Break time?
No. And sadly, this is something you guys are going to cover, but you were going through your scenario, and you mentioned, okay, we're looking at conflicts of interest.
Yes.
And if somebody, we look to see what kind of relationship they have.
Yes.
That if there was not a conflict of interest, there's a green light. What if there is that conflict of interest? Because many of these people who are listening today, they are out in far-reaching lands, and they're very close with their friends groups and other groups, and those are often people in the community that invite them. And what if there is that?
Melinda,
can they still go?
You're my boss, and I know it sounds like I'm kissing up to her, but it's an excellent question, okay? And so the point, what Melinda was just asking is, we did the analysis where there wasn't a conflict of interest, okay? Melinda wants to change it to, okay, there is a conflict of interest. And you probably will, you do probably run into this out in the fields where you're with a friend's organization, which is a prohibited source, okay? A lot of our federal government employees don't understand that, but they are a prohibited source, and that individual does do a lot of things or does have some ability to make official decisions that would affect the interest of this organization, the sponsor of this event. Then what do? Well, we do the analysis, and that doesn't mean that it's a bar, that's a no, okay? But this is where you really need your supervisor and your ethics officer, okay? So you guys or the DEX to really do an analysis to determine, okay, even if there is a potential conflict of interest, is this still worth that possible appearance or what the public would think? Is it still valuable for that individual to still attend the event, okay? And that could happen. But if there is that potential, it all has to be in writing, and that's why we have these forms and everything, because then you or your DEC has to write something, not officially, it can be in an email again, but it has to be in writing, that analysis of, yeah, we looked at it, we determined, yeah, there may be that potential of conflict of interest, but guess what? We still think that it's in the agency's interest for this person to attend, okay? All right? So we're going to take a little potty break, and we hope that all of you take one too, and we'll be back in 5.
And you'll be back.
That's a good question. We should have feedback from the local officials.
Five and 2, 1. All right. I hope that we've all. I hope that we have all had that little rest that we needed, and we're going to get right back into our WAGs and some of the questions that we put down on this scenario. One thing that we haven't addressed yet is, does the number of people attending matter? Oh, but before we do that, Margaret said that there was a question on the internet, and Margaret's going to tell us what it is.
So the question is, do local friends groups really sponsor WAGs?
And we're going to say we have a lot of DECs shaking their hands. Yes, they do. They have their own fundraisers. They have their own social parties or events. So yes, local friends, little friends associations do have these things, and so yes, you may see this in your ethics career. So good question. So going on, thank you, Margaret. So going on to what else we have to look at in regards to whether we can approve this as a widely attended gathering. One of the other items that you will see in the regulation is the number of people attending. And while there isn't a finite amount that we will tell you that you need, there certainly is kind of a general rule of what we're looking for. Anybody want to help me out with that in regards to, like, for instance, is 5 or 10 people attending an event a widely attended gathering?
100.
Okay, 100. All right. Well, that's interesting, because in regards to someone being a non-sponsor and inviting you, you have to have that 100. But guess what? If it's a sponsor that's inviting you, the actual person who's hosting that event, you don't have to have 100 people. You just need a diverse amount, an amount that is going to allow you to exchange and listen to different points of view. Is that what it is, Matt? What is it, Matt?
Well, I think there's two things to look at. One, are there attendees from different organizations that offer diverse points of view?
Hold on. So Matt has said there are two things that we need to look at. One, are there going to be attendees that are going to be there that offer diverse points of view?
And two, is a forum that is essentially designed for discussion. So,
is the forum potentially designed for discussion?
Right.
So Matt's going to come up here and opine a little more on this for you.
There you go. It'll be easier. I can see you as well.
They can see me. I don't know if they want to see me, but
that's Matt.
And the reason I mentioned forum is, and we don't really have this issue in this particular fact pattern, but I mean there are some events that are just sort of categorically not considered an appropriate forum for a widely attended gathering because they're not really occurring in a manner that encourages discussion. And typically, sporting events and entertainment events are the two areas that are not considered WAGs just by virtue of the type of event that they are, because you're there to watch something, whether it be sporting event or entertainment, and not there to have a discussion. And I think everyone acknowledges that, yes, discussions can occur at those events, but notwithstanding that, there's just, OG has sort of drawn a line saying those events just don't qualify, so you can't use those.
Excellent. Thank you. So the number of people attending does matter, and it does matter whether it's going to be, it does matter who's inviting you again. If it's the host, then we don't have a specific number that we have to be over. But if it's from a non-host, it has to be over 100 people. How about another agency has approved this widely attended gathering for their employees? Or
NASA does that all the time.
Or even better, how about the host of the event has said under the rules of widely attended gatherings that this event has been deemed a widely attended gathering? Should you believe that? Yeah. No, yeah. Peanut gallery, but she was just kidding. No. Remember that other agencies may not have the same prohibited sources or have the same conflicts of interest that we may have. And so again, it's always fact specific, and you are going to have to do your own analysis on that. That's why sometimes it's very frustrating when someone gets an invitation and it says that it's been wagged somehow, and you're like, really? Who's it been wagged by? Because we didn't wag this. And that, unfortunately, that employee thinks it's been wagged by, by the rules, or it's been wagged by another agency, so I'm good to go. No, not good to go. So make sure that you educate your employees in regards to that. You were going to say something?
I wanted to add that just because somebody that this employee might know has been invited doesn't mean that he's allowed to call up and ask for an invitation. these offers must be unsolicited, both with the previous scenario and with this one.
And that's a really good point that I actually forgot to talk about with your gift of travel. You know, a lot of times, because of the government budget constraints and everything, there were a lot of conferences or sponsors of conferences that were sending out notices that appeared to be invitations for our federal government employees to attend a conference. And what a lot of employees didn't understand was that on it said, a lot of the invitations would say, hey, if you need assistance with government, if you need assistance with travel or whatever, fill out this form or click here or whatever. And what it actually turned into be was a solicitation from our federal government employees. So you can tell them, for instance, let's say that they want to really go to a conference. The conference people have been talking to them. They're saying, we'd really love to see you. They go to their supervisor. Supervisor says, we don't have the money for it. Okay? Well, that person can certainly tell the sponsor that of the rules, of what the rules are, but they can't say, so could you pay for me? Can you comp me here? So they have to be careful. Same thing with the WAG, and even more so with the WAG. Not really. Let's scratch that. Same thing with the WAG. You can't have that person going and asking for a free ticket. Okay, it's considered a solicitation, and you can't do it. Now, what about local area? I think that we've covered local area, don't you, Nancy?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
It never hurts to repeat.
Okay.
When people are in the local area, different rules apply.
Yeah, when people are in the local area, different rules apply. And really, in regards to WAGs, you can have a WAG outside of your local area or within your local area. That's the good thing about WAGs, okay? So again, someone's on a gift of travel trip and something pops up when they're there that appears to be more of a WAG, you can accept it. It happens here locally and where they work, they can accept it so long as you go through the whole analysis and it's clear.
What about how you might get to a local WAG? Who pays the travel expenses?
Oh, good question, Nancy. So what you're asking me is, can someone travel in their government vehicle to go to a WAG? What do you think? Markite says it depends. Anyone?
I'd say no.
Yes, I think I would say no too. Why? Why do you say no though?
Has to be on their own time.
That's right. Because why? Because why? What is a WAG? Who's accepting that WAG? The government or the person? The person, yes, okay? And so you have to remember that. And it's tricky. And a lot of people get into trouble with this because, again, this is a hybrid. Yes, you're accepting this personally, but you're going there on behalf of the agency. So it can be very confusing, and so you have to be careful of that. Write that down in your notes.
Let me ask another question.
Oh, no, Nancy, no more questions. All right.
What if they also invite the employee to not only attend the event, but stay at the hotel where the event is being held?
Oh, well, I've never had a WAG like that. Anybody? What if it's local and it's a social event, it's a reception, and then people are going to sleep over on that hotel?
And when I say local, that's less than 50 miles.
Less than 50 miles.
Well, you can't accept lodging under G2 or G1.
There you go. That's the answer. You can't accept lodging under G1 or G2.
Maybe if it has agency gift acceptance authority.
They would still need to be on official travel. And with the...
We're talking about...
We're just talking about WAGs.
With WAGs.
What's permissible and not permissible?
Or you have to be on official duty, I guess is a better way of saying it.
Official duty, yeah.
But under
So,
G1, if you're under G1, designated to go and speak, and not stay at the hotel, but to use a government vehicle to go because you're authorized to go and speak on behalf of the agency. So you wouldn't treat that as a wag.
Now, excellent. Markai's talking about G1 instead of G2. G2, again, remember, is widely attended gatherings. G1 is you've been invited to be a speaker at some sort of event. So let's say that it's local and they pay for your conference fee and also invite you to stay over for that evening. Can you do that? Man, I have never been asked that question, Markai. Help! Anybody?
No, G1, free attendance is the same for G1 and G2. And it does not include travel expenses, lodging, entertainment, collateral for the event, or meals taken other than in a group setting with all other attendees.
And
are you reading that, Lauren?
And so Ed has said that just like G2, go ahead, read it.
It does not include travel expenses, lodging, entertainment collateral to the event, or meals taken other than in a group setting with all other attendees.
Right. So in other words, you have that, ooh, good, we got some peanut gallery hands. Hold on one second. So for instance, you have a breakfast, you've been invited to the breakfast, or you've been invited to the lunch or the dinner on the same day of your speaking engagement. That's going to be permissible so long as everybody else in attendance is getting that meal. Matt.
But again, G1, official capacity, probably could use a government vehicle.
And that was the point I was trying to pull out.
And then, so sorry, we went on a tangent. And so going back to speaking engagements in your official capacity in your local area would be permissible for you to use your government vehicle to do that. Correct. And that's what Markai was talking about. Good. So I want to change the facts just a little in regards to Friends of Federal Lands. And they've decided to offer all government employees, so all federal and state government employees, if they want to attend this fundraising and award event, then it's only going to be $375 for them, so long as they show their government ID. Are we going to be okay with that? Is there any issue with that? There's not.
It's a different gift exception.
It's a different gift exception, but it's going to be okay. They're going to be able to accept that. And so,
if he pays for it. It wouldn't be a gift if the employee paid for it. Right.
Well, hold on, okay? Some people may have to pay, and if they pay, if they're a government employee and they want to attend and they haven't been offered a ticket, then they would pay the $375. But for Dudley Do-Right, who is a government employee and they've offered his ticket, now his ticket is actually valued at $375 because he's a government employee. Now, there is someone in the background who may say there are 1,000 other variations of this, okay? Like, what table are you sitting at? And what, okay? Just come and talk to us. Come and talk to your deck, all right? It's still, again, fact specific, and we're going to have to help you wrangle with some of this. Yes, Nancy. You can talk.
What would the employee have to report on his, or not report on his OGE Form 278, if indeed the ticket price with a government ID is $375?
Well, what do we think?
We have an answer of 0.
That is correct.
That's correct.
$375 or below, you do not have to report as a gift on your OG 278. Melinda.
Before you get off of WAG,
yeah.
I just wanted to point out and jump back for 1 minute to G1. There is an Office of Government Ethics opinion. I don't have the number for you, but it was written by former General Counsel Don Fox, and it deals with G1 and limitations on speaking and using the G1 authority. So G1 was being used far too frequently, and it was being used so that people could actually get drivers to take them to events. So when we discussed using a government vehicle to take you somewhere using the authority of G1, please take a look at that OGE opinion, because you will see the limitations associated with that.
And this is a good, I kind of recap. You want to recap? So Melinda was talking about how G1 was kind of being abused to the point where people were having drivers take them in government cars to events and everything. And so there's an OGE opinion out there in regards to what G1 is should truly be used for. And that's a really good time to tell you that I promise you, on Friday, you're actually going to get some more information. You're going to get the answers and the analysis, actually, to these fact scenarios. And I will send out now that OGE opinion and maybe some other OGE opinions that can really help you navigate through these rules. So, but without further ado, we're going to go to our last fact scenario, unless we have any other questions. Margaret? Okay. So what happens, and this happens a lot in our office. I don't know if it happens a lot in your offices, but we get a lot of requests where it's, again, a local invitation. It's a local event, and the person's been comped. But it's not just a lunch or it's not just a reception. It actually is a 2 or 3 day event. And, you know, unfortunately, what's the biggest deal in regards to widely attended gatherings? What kind of status do you have to be in to attend an event under the widely attended gathering? What did we tell you?
On the phone?
On the phone, anybody? Anybody typing?
No.
Anybody? Ghost Town. Anybody? Hello?
On your own time?
On your own time, exactly. So you have to be in some sort of kind of leave status or off duty, right? So we run into this issue where, okay, there is an agency interest in you attending, but unfortunately for you to attend 2 or 3 days of this, you're not going to be able to, unless you're willing to take leave for these 3 days, that's not really, you know, that's not, we really can't use a widely attended gathering. And you don't want to actually force someone who really is doing agency business, right? They're going to this event because there's an agency interest to have to take their own leave or whatever. So there is something else, a couple of things that you could potentially use in regards to your toolkit again to help them get there. And hold on a second, I have to switch. There? Uh-oh. Oh, no. Okay, I'm having technical difficulty, and for some reason, I don't have the second page didn't come up on this. So I'll just read this and take a look at your materials that I've already sent you. It's Gladys Goody Two Shoes, and she's a GS14 policy analyst for soil conservation for DOI Bureau. And she's been invited to a 2-day conference, local conference, so in her local area, by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. The conference includes breakfast and lunch, and the conference will discuss worms and other wiggly creatures good for soil conservation. The premier scientists, like lots of premier scientists, are going to be there to share studies and groundbreaking methods on how to improve soil throughout the world. So the question is, can she attend? Well, again, I go back to the WAG. First of all, she can't use gift of travel, right, because she's local. She really can't do WAG because, you know, this is a 2-day conference, right? So what are some other potential mechanisms that we could have her go, because this would be really beneficial to us as an agency. Yes. Yes. And that's really good.
Have the agency pay for it has just been suggested.
What Armando has said, and that is true. You know, if you're stuck and none of the rules are going to get you there, that can be your fallback in regards to this scenario, and that is, yeah, the agency could pay for it. But the agency doesn't want to pay for it, Armando. They don't have a lot of money. So how can we get her there? And one way would be the training statute. And I don't know if any of you have really used the training statute or not, but the training statute is our 5 USC section 4111, and the regulation is 5 CFR section 410.510, okay, and then read on past that, 502.502, 503. It's a great explanation of the training statute. And what this allows is that individual, so it's a gift to that individual, to accept this offer of conference fees and breakfast and lunch. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Would she be on annual leave?
And she would be going in her official capacity. So she gets to represent us, which is good. So that would be one way you could do a scenario like this. Another scenario, let's say for some reason you don't want to use the training statute, you could actually look at
gift to agency. If your bureau or department has gift acceptance authority.
You can look at it like that, and you'll definitely need to talk to your DECs. And for us, of course, whenever we talk about gifts of agency, we have to talk to general law in the solicitor's office regarding that. But there may be a possibility. There's a great partnership primer. I'll also send along with other materials that one section of it goes into detail in regards to all the bureaus and the kinds of gift to agency or gift statutes that the authorities that they may have in being able to accept gifts, okay? But again, when you get into something like this, you really do need to talk to your DEC, because your DECs talk with us and we want to make sure that we're kind of on the same page in regards to what we're accepting as a gift to agency and what we're not, okay?
Could she attend under the WAG regulation if she wanted to go for free?
This is that's the issue. She'd have to be in a leave status. She'd have to take leave. She could potentially attend this under the WAG. You made me think of a couple things that I wanted to talk about in regards to this. So remember, the training statute means that it has to be, an exchange of information or whatever. A WAG can be, purely social or whatever, right? So that is one thing that you have to take a look at. I've had situations where there's been a 2-day conference, but it really is just more of a meet and greet versus like an exchange of like I said here, like new stuff, that new technology or new science that's out there or whatever. And I'll get with you in just a second. And so you do have to make sure that this actually is educational, informational for that individual. So yeah, they could potentially take this under a WAG, but they'd have to be in a leave status, Ed.
I was just going to say that under 4111, it has to be a 501c3.
And that's what I was about to say. The other thing that you have to be careful about is that it is a nonprofit organization. And actually, Ed, the statute to take a look at in regards to the definition of that is 26 USC 501c3. 26 USC 501c3. I'm going to recheck that one, okay, for you. But my point is it doesn't necessarily have to be a 501c3. It just has to be a nonprofit under the definition. If you look at the 26 USC, you'll see that it could be a 501, a C6. Are there C6s too? There are, yeah, it's not necessarily, so it just has to be defined under the statute, and I'm sorry, but I guess it's the end of the day and my brain is draining, and I will get that information for you, I promise though. But if you look at that statute, it's not directly, it doesn't have to be an absolute 501c3, it just has to be a nonprofit defined under IRS, yeah?
I'm looking at the statute.
The 26?
5 U.S.C. 4111.
Okay.
It has to be
yeah.
An organization described by section 501c3 of Title 26.
Right, and have you looked that up? Look that up.
Yeah, but 501c3 is 501c3.
Is it just 501c3?
Yeah.
Because 501c4 would talk about the C4.
Have you looked it up?
Yes. Yeah. You just many times.
I'm wrong. It has to be a 501c3. That's okay. I've only given people permission to attend 501c3 nonprofit organizations for trainings, but I don't know. For some reason, I had thought that it was other nonprofit organizations too.
That's true for the exemption on serving on outside boards. It has to be a 501c, but for the training statute, it has to be a 501c.
Matt's talking about boards, so I'm not going to ping you with that information at the moment. So, but anyhow, remember, it does still have to be a 501c3, and for you to discover whether that organization is a 501c3, the best way to do that is to go to their website. Sometimes it's on that, or there actually is a website called GuideStar.com. Is that it? .org, GuideStar.org, which will let you look up their actual IRS not-for-profit. Yes.
And the IRS has a website as well.
Yes, the IRS does have a website. It's not always user-friendly,
well, you've got
and it's not always updated.
Well, it's pretty well updated. But
check out IRS too, they're saying.
Because you can find the tax forms, like the 990s, right? The forms that the nonprofits.
So,
IRS website, you will on
you're talking about, what they're talking about right now is the forms that the nonprofit organizations actually have to file to be deemed a 501c3 organization under IRS. I think that we've pretty much covered the training statute, gifts to agency. So again, when you're looking at speaking engagements, when you're looking at conferences, you have several tools in your ethics toolbox that you can take a look at. You know, is it local or is it out of the local area? If it's out of the local area, you can look at gift of travel regulation, right, statute. You can look at a WAG potentially. You could potentially even look at a training statute, but that might be a little iffy, but we can get there. Maybe a gift to agency. If it's local, you can't use your gift of travel statute, but you certainly could maybe use a WAG, maybe your speaking engagement, the G1 that we talked about, maybe the training statute, and maybe the
gift acceptance authority by agencies or by bureaus.
That's right.
And don't forget about the requirement to report certain things on financial disclosure reports, depending upon the type of filer and the amount of the training or travel or whatever accepted. Very, very important.
I've had many a person that I've told them they were good to go, but oh, remember, you're going to have to report this on your OG 278, and then they've decided not to go. So sometimes you need to explain that to them up front. Do we have any questions? Any in the Ethernet? All right. Okay, we're gonna take just a 5-minute break. real quickly, just to switch up our next presenters. And we're going to be talking about government property, resources, and time. Woo! And we are back on, and we have, who do we have? We have Kim Hines with the service, Fish and Wildlife Service, and Donna Houston from BESIC. And they're going to teach us about government resources, position, property, and time. Ladies.
Well, to get started, don't have Melinda. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Hopefully my voice will last the whole session, may not. Jennifer Doerr's name is also on here. She can't be with us today. She's the ethics counselor for the Office of Inspector General. But we are giving her a nice shout out and props, I guess, because she helped really put the majority of these slides together. So we wanted to recognize Jennifer. Also, we understand not just for us here in the room, but the folks out watching this. It's been a long day, and we've given you a lot of information. So we're going to try to cover this as thoroughly as we can, but we'll try to do it as quickly as we can. Not that we're discouraging questions, or if you wanted, to ask questions or engage in a dialogue, we're certainly happy to do that with you. I mean, I'm completely willing to go completely off script if you have burning questions on misuse of government resources. And
or any funny stories. No, just kidding.
So, Donna, do you have anything to say right now?
No. We think we put the key information together here. We have the facts, the guidelines, the regulations for you. Then we have some interesting stories. Some we've made up, some are true to life.
Oh, we want to recognize, we will tell you which ones are real. And we made up some. We really wanted to point out to Michelle that that we were not picking on BOEM, that these are made-up scenarios.
Yes. When you see a reference to a bureau with one of the made-up stories, that doesn't mean to imply at all that it happened in that bureau. We were just trying to spread the wealth. So. Oh, also, as far as reference material, we have the slides, and then as part of your handout, we provided the 2635-702 use of public office for private gain section of the CFR. It has, some nice examples in there in addition to the ones that we'll give you today. So that's also a very nice reference material there for you. So,
where do I start? There, back. First, I want to talk about our dual roles. We have a dual role. We have our own duty to protect and conserve government property, but we also have our second duty, which is to educate and advise our employees before they take any action. So we always have to, keep those two roles in mind. And also, we provide them with the safe harbor. If they come to us with a full disclosure of all the relevant facts, we can provide them with that safe harbor, so long as they give us all of the relevant facts. Did it go?
Yes, you're good.
This is my, I actually came up with a nice pithy saying, so this is Kim's personal pitch for the principals. I know Rainey showed her CFR, and some of the others have their, their CFR regulations. And I personally really like and appreciate the 14 general principles. They're very easy to understand. They're very easy to explain. They're easy to internalize. And for you as the AECs and DECs, it's always a good starting point. It's just a good starting point. If you're encountering something that's new that you've never come up with, it's always nice. I actually have, the 14 general principles by my desk, and I can read through them and it will guide me or point me into the right direction and think, oh, maybe this is the direction that I need to go. And the 14 general principles really work well, I think, for misuse of government resources and property. I just highlighted the ones that really apply or resonate with misuse of position. General principle number 1, public service is a public trust. It's freezing in here. People have hoods on. So we have public service as a public trust. That's general principle number 1. 5, which I know harkens back to a different era, a different generation, probably speaks more to maybe our grandparents or our parents. But 5, putting forth an honest effort in the performance of our duties. 7, not to use our public office for private gain. 9, protect and conserve federal property. And 14, avoiding any actions creating the appearance that you are violating the law, the standards of conduct, et cetera.
And I agree with Kim on that. I used to give just a brief 5 to 10 minute presentation to our new employees. It wasn't, their enter on duty ethics training. It was just an introduction. Hello, I'm your ethics officer. But the one thing that I did, we give all of our employees the DOI ethics guide when they come on board. And I always took the ethics guide with me, held it up so they knew what it was, that they had to read it, and pointed out if they would just flip open to the first page, the 14 principles were there, and that would get them through a lot of things that they would encounter when they had an ethics question. If they could just start right there and make it real easy, then they would, have half the battle. So next, we are going to talk about misuse of position. Just a quick overview, prohibitions on the misuse of office or position. Of course, you cannot use your position for private gain. Use of non-public information, any information that you have as a result of your work with your organization that's not available to the general public. Use of government property and use of official time. We're going to explain those in detail. Use of a personal gain or a private gain. This doesn't just mean your gain. It means any friends that you may have, relatives, any organization with which you're associated, of course, any organization with which you are seeking employment. We may not coerce or induce a person to provide benefits to us. We cannot go around trying to impress people by the fact that we are a federal employee or that we have some entitlement to any special benefit because of our federal employment. We cannot imply official endorsement or government sanctions of any personal activities, anything that you're involved in outside of work. Of course, like all ethics rules, we have the rules and then we have several exceptions that follow. And, there's an exception for teaching, speaking, and writing if someone makes reference to your federal position and it's given no greater prominence than any other fact about you, such as the fact that you're married and have 3 kids and went to such and such college and you happen to work for the federal government in such and such a position. That's fine. You can make reference to that. Letters of recommendation. You can write a letter of recommendation noting your personal title. If it comes, if you're being asked to do it for someone that you knew as a result of your federal employment, there's an exception for that. Of course, we cannot endorse any product or service.
Just one more exception for the letters of recommendation. You can also write a letter of recommendation if you're recommending somebody for government employment. Okay. Government employment. And again, please feel free, people in the room or people out there, to ask questions, comments. It'll just make it more entertaining for us.
Well, speaking of entertaining, don't invite Rainey to do that. No, don't invite Rainey to do that. Okay, the next slide here is a picture. Now, is there anybody out there who recognizes that building? Oh, I guess it has a name on it. But is there anybody out there that recognizes the building without reading the name on it? Okay, a couple people here. If you're from the Washington, D.C. area, Wolf Trap is the national park for the performing arts here. It's where the arts come out to play. It's just it's a great place to go. A lot of people do. Of course, a lot of federal employees go there. Some people even volunteer there. So we have a scenario for you here. An OGE employee attended a concert. OIG. Oh, OIG. Oh, sorry about that. Not OG. I'm sorry. Excuse me. OIG. Employee attended a concert at Wolf Trap, and they really loved the performer that they saw, and they were so excited, and they decided they were going to kind of sneak backstage and see if they could get a look at their favorite performer here that they were so excited. Well, as you might suspect, they were stopped by security. Well, the IG just flipped open their badge and said, oh, it's okay, I work for the IG's office.
Is this a made-up thing?
No, I think this one actually happened.
This one actually happened.
See, real life example.
Real life example. So does anybody see any problem with this? Yes, we have a yes. And you guys in the field? You see a problem with the IG?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, this person is trying to obtain special benefits as a result of their employment with the IG's office, and needless to say, that's not the purpose for which those credentials were issued. They weren't to allow people to get backstage to take a closer look at Ringo. Josh Groban, Ringo Starr. I'm sorry?
Who was behind stage?
Who was behind stage? I don't know.
Jennifer didn't tell us.
No, but Jennifer provided this. She works in the IG's office, and she provided this example. So this is a true life situation.
Okay. We had another one with. Yeah. Oh. Okay. We had another one with actually a video clip, but we can't get the video.
Try it.
Oh, we're going to try it one more time, but it didn't work when we were doing the run-through. But this is a real-life example that the local news reported on. I can give you a little bit of background.
Yeah, give a background.
Because it may not work anyway. This actually took place in Ohio. Police conducted a traffic stop and saw a man with a gun. The article didn't really give all the details of the particular stop, but the man flashed his badge from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Only problem is the man in question isn't a law enforcement officer. He was or is an employee with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, but he was an inspector. His position with the government did not authorize him to have a gun. So he was charged with a weapons transportation felony, and clearly there were some ethics violations that went along with this particular individual. Did we get it? Or?
We're not going to do it.
That's all right.
Okay.
So that's okay. So very similar, abuse of his government authority and misuse of his credentials, and flashing the badge to avoid trying to explain why he has this gun in his car. Please excuse me. I'm so sorry. It's been a rough week. The next section we're going to talk about is use of non-public information. Again, employee shall not engage in any financial transactions using non-public information, or we are not allowed to the improper use of non-public information to further another's private interest. So no insider trading. You don't want to be Martha Stewart or the new golfer right now, Phil Mickelson, who's or Phil Mickelson right now, who's under investigation for insider trading. So misuse of government property. Again, we have that duty to protect and conserve government property, and we shall not use property or allow its use for other than authorized purposes. Again, this mirrors up with that general principle 9. And we're just throwing this one out there. It's blank on purpose.
No, can you flip back?
Can I flip back?
Okay, there you go.
There we go.
There you go.
You're quick on that trick.
We were just throwing it out there for, you know, so that we're not doing all of the talking and I can rest my voice. You know, what is government property?
What are the
just about everything.
The first thing, just about everything. But what are the primary things that occur to you when we say misuse of government property? What do you think of an individual misusing?
Credit cards.
Credit cards. Okay.
Computers. Cell phones and cell phones. Vehicles. Email. Yes, here in the D.C. area, the Metro subsidy. Yeah, those are all great.
Yeah, see, that's what the examples that we have here, you know, we have some things that are very obvious, you know, everybody thinks of computers, but, you know, some of the things that you don't necessarily think of are, you know, government mail, you know, franked envelopes. We gave you some examples of government credentials. Services of contractor personnel. I mean, they aren't there to do work for you. They're there to do work that they've been assigned under their contract. So we have to be very careful with that. And government time. Government time is a resource. When you're on the clock, that's a property of the federal government.
Again, going back to that general principle of honest days work for an honest day of pay.
Of pain or pay, Ken?
Pay.
Oh, pay. Sorry.
Depending on the day, maybe both. We just have a little comic here for you. This person is quite dedicated to their position. If you read the cartoon there, this person, their project has been put into deep hibernation, as they say. So to keep their skills sharp, they've been playing Angry Birds. I'm not an Angry Bird person. I started to say Wild Birds. They've been playing Angry Birds. So, and he pointed out it's all about the mission. So, use must comply. Our use of our government computer must comply with the limited personal use policy.
I mean, I know, you know, our AECs for the service probably see misuse of government property resources. Probably more than I do, being that they're involved in employee relations and employee misconduct actions. So if you guys have a story that you wanna tell, jump in, feel free.
Is there anything of interest or unique? If not, we'll just go ahead. We were going to talk a little bit about the limited personal use policy, and the policy states that employees can use government computers and equipment for personal use before and after work, while on breaks, as long as there's no additional cost to the federal government. Now, there are certain flat-out prohibitions. It doesn't cover everything. Certain things are just big no-nos. And, of course, one of those is any activities associated with outside employment. Viewing sexually explicit material, that's a common problem, and trust me, if the media finds out about that, you know, you're going to be all over the news. So they tend to like that topic. So, you know, we've tried to address that. There are a lot of filters in place. Our IT guys are working on it all the time. Our computer use is monitored. Everything you do, just take a look at the banner that you click on when you log on, and it says you have no entitlement to privacy. Just think that your mother or grandmother is looking over your shoulder and everything that you type, because in essence they are. So just keep that in mind, anything you do on your government computer.
And that applies to your government cell phone, you know, if you're out in the field and you're bored.
Gambling, of course, is never prohibited.
Well, the funny thing is, I really used to think that viewing the sexually explicit material or pornography, and I apologize, I thought that was a problem for men. You know, I didn't see that for a female. And then the story broke about the SEC attorney that was viewing up, I think, like 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day of sexually explicit material on her computer, so to the point where she couldn't even keep it on her computer anymore. It was, you know, she downloaded stuff and it was stored all in her office. And then I was like, man, I can no longer say that. So
Equal opportunity. Okay. So gambling, not permitted. Political activity, we're going to run into Hatch Act issues there. And live streaming. Live streaming is a problem because it utilizes a significant amount of bandwidth and can slow down our computers. However, you will have noticed that here, let's say here recently, I don't know, maybe it's just come up in the past 6 months or a year maybe, sometimes the department will sponsor a presentation that's streamed live. Of course, if they do it, they've made allowances for it and they've worked with the IT shops and they have everything set up to accommodate it. So, but just, I'm sorry? Sometimes, okay. Maybe their systems aren't quite up to capacity like they hoped. But, of course, if it's something that they're doing, you know, that's sanctioned by the department, so that's fine. But please don't think that that allows you to listen to your favorite radio station, you know, live streaming on your computer, because it doesn't.
And just let me interrupt. You can see at the top of our slides, like this one is limited personal use. We've actually put the site to the departmental manual that referenced the limited personal use policy, and we did that with the other CFR sites and references. So this can give you a quick look if you really are, you know, need something and you thought, oh, they talked about this, so just look for that site.
Okay, and next we're just going to give you a little scenario here. Bob is a Fish and Wildlife Service employee, and he's checking his personal Gmail account during lunch, and he notices an online coupon for a great deal on athletic equipment. And now this coupon is only good for that day. And he's afraid if he doesn't utilize it, you know, right then while he's looking at it, that by the time he gets home, he's going to have forgotten. So he really wants to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity because this is a company that he really likes. Now, one of the reasons why this is so attractive to Bob is the fact that he has an outside business where he works as a personal trainer. And he has had this approved by his supervisor and the ethics office, but he wants to utilize this purchase, this equipment, as part of his business, his personal training. So he pulls out his wallet, pulls out his personal credit card, takes advantage of the coupon, has the equipment mailed to his home address. Is there any problem with this?
And we can take it in a couple of parts. Can somebody check their personal Gmail account, you know, during morning, rec, or lunch, or after? We're getting some head shaking. So the
What do you guys think out there in the Ethernet? You can type it in. Anyone?
So yes. Okay. Checking personal email is fine.
Yeah, he's good there. He notices this coupon. Okay, fine. You know, that's fine. He realizes that he cannot use his government credit card for this purpose. And he also realizes that he cannot have the equipment mailed to work, even though maybe he goes straight from work to his training activity. He realizes he cannot have it mailed to work, but he's using the government equipment for his personal business. So that's a big no-no. So that's his violation there.
We did have actually someone comment on an item, and that has to do with emails, kind of what Ken was talking about. That, you know, remember, even using your personal email on your Gmail access from Gmail, that all of that, if you're on a government computer, it gets scanned and reported, and that this person says they've learned way much more than they want to about a person's dating habits and their tastes.
Yeah, I can tell a funny story about that.
Yes, funny story.
When a lot of times when we give our annual ethics training at Bessie and Boehm, we have other individuals travel with us. We will have our procurement integrity officer go with us. We'll have an IT security officer go with us. This year we're having a representative from finance come with us to discuss travel regs and credit cards. Well, when they first started more closely monitoring our personal, I want to call it our personal email activity, like reading your home emails, when we got access to be able to do that, and when they enhanced their monitoring abilities. Well, you know, before then, all this stuff wasn't captured. Then it was started to be captured, and their incident rate of inappropriate material, things people were saying, words that they were using, events they were describing in explicit detail, the incident of this was just off the Richter scale. So our IT security rep attended the ethics training with us, and he would stand in front of a room of anywhere from 60 to 200 people and tell them that it's okay to view your personal email when you're at work. However, we have these new monitoring filters in place, and just be aware that even when you're on your personal Gmail account or whatever account you may use from work, if you're on your government computer, we can see everything that you type. The room just went, I mean, it was just, people about fell out of their chairs. I mean, they were just shocked. And as soon as he traveled with us that year and made everybody aware, because people were not aware. They thought, if I'm on my personal email, I'm on my personal email, and this is between me and the person to whom I am speaking and no one else. As soon as they found out that that wasn't the case, our incident rate just tanked. I mean, it was just went to next to nil. So, yes, please be sure everyone knows that, yes, they are watching.
Let me add just a little piece to that. Not only can they track what you type in, they can also track past conversations. We had a BLM employee that was terminated because of his past conversations that were very explicit and talked about activities that he had planned, that he had engaged in the past, and, you know, very explicit language, and they terminated him because of that. So it's not just the stuff you type in. When you pull up a Gmail account, they can see everything that's ever been created in that account.
Well, thank you for the...
Go in and look at past emails that you have.
They don't have to look at the email. All they do is have certain words that they're looking for, and the system that they have in place will track those words and pull up that word in the context of a conversation that you had. It could have been 6 months ago or 7 months ago, and it'll be there.
So if you have a government iPhone or BlackBerry and you're talking on it, do they track that too, Donna?
I don't know.
That's NSA.
Yeah, there you go. Kim answered you.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to be careful, and I think now everybody, you know, you have your own personal iPhone. Use your own personal iPhone or iPad, your personal iPad, to check your email. I don't go into Gmail to check my personal email.
No, never.
Melinda. The next slide talks about, actually it's talking about the clarification to the cell phone policy. We cited it there from, and this is coming from the OCIO, it's Directive 2005-013, and this is how you can use your work cell phone. Again, it says DOI employees may use their government-provided mobile phone for personal use to the same extent that they use other government telephones, whether at their duties or on official travel. They so kind of limit it, though. They say the policy permits employees to make and receive personal phone calls on an infrequent basis, such as calls to alert household members about working late or other scheduling changes, and calls to make alternate child care arrangements. But they're really supposed to be in limited limited frequency and limited duration, and again, no extra cost to the government whatsoever. And I know people say, well, the way the cell phones work now, we just have this one plan and it doesn't matter, but this is a policy that's in place, and it's supposed to be infrequent with no additional cost to the government. So you really shouldn't get rid of your personal iPhone to just use the government phone.
We have a question.
Not so much a question, but one way that some of the supervisors at USGS have found that people have no longer their own personal cell phones when they do emergency call rosters, and that's the government phone is the only one that they can give them. And we've had situations where people are like, well, gosh, I didn't need my home phone or my personal cell phone anymore. Well, they really do.
Okay.
The other thing that has come up with me is that somebody, when they left employment, they wanted to keep their number. And it was a person who was transitioning to a retirement and had made many contacts and wanted people to be able to contact him so that he could start his consulting business. And he had to be informed that it was not his number and that we were keeping it.
That's a great story. I hope you all heard that one. That was good.
Yeah.
So
it was difficult to hear.
Okay, so we're going to have Kim.
Nancy was saying that an individual was retiring and wanted to keep the cell phone number of his government cell phone because of, contacts, and that's what everybody was used to, calling, and they had to say no, that he could not keep the cell phone number, that the number stayed with the agency, and, it wasn't his personally.
It was a government cell phone number,
right.
And it could not be turned into a personal cell phone number. And then the other thing
well,
was...
see, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, I'm sure my husband's, anyway, corporations are different, but the number will stay with the government. If not, the number is the government property.
Right. But, and Nancy also mentioned that some people, because they use their government cell phone so much, they just got rid of their own personal cell phone, which is also just an absolute no-no. Then you're definitely using your government cell phone as your personal cell phone, and that's over the limit that Kim was teaching us about.
Right, and in my example, they also got rid of their home phone number.
Oh, great, and they got rid of their home phone number too, Nancy said.
The only one that they could give their supervisor.
Yes.
Moving on, our next misuse of government property scenario. This is not a real one. This is a made-up one. We have some more real ones later on. But Steve, a BLM employee, Mark High, gets to the office about 15 minutes early in the morning so that he can skim the online version of his local paper. And rather than read any of the longer articles that interest him right then, he prints them out so that he can read them later during lunch. And he's printing them out on his black and white computer printer, not in color. Again, so that he can read it later during lunch. Is this permissible?
How many?
That's it. He's 5.
Every day? Every day.
Yeah, I mean, those, people are pointing out, good questions. What we did, our points in this are, these were longer articles that he felt it would take him too long to read in the morning. So the implication there is that there is some links to them. And he said, I think he said he prints out all of the longer ones. And he does do this all week, so throughout the week. And our IT people tell me all the time, you know, their regulations are kind of old, and I don't want to say outdated. You know, we all try to update things, and, you know, sometimes it's kind of an uphill battle. But right now, the limited personal use policy says 10 pages or less per week. So we can tell employees that that's the guide, that's what's currently in writing.
10 pages.
10 pages a week.
And specifically, that was not a color printer.
Not a color printer.
Not a color
black and white.
Because color printer.
Color printer is different.
Right. Okay, our next issue of government property.
We're from the government, and we're here to help.
Our next issue of government property is charge cards. As I said, when we travel and do our ethics training, our annual training, we do address charge cards, but all the slides that we've developed for charge cards when we give our presentation, we also consult with our IT folks and maybe even our procurement folks to make sure that we have everything current, that we're making the key points, that we're addressing the recurring issues, you know, problems that most often come up for them. So just a couple of points to make. Of course, we all know there's two types of charge cards. There's purchase cards and there's travel cards. The probably one that's used the most, I assume, is travel. There's usually someone in an office that has a purchase card, but I would say more people have travel cards than purchase cards. Things to keep in mind for your travel card, they are to be used when you're going on travel. So, of course, you make your airline reservation, rental vehicles, gas for the rental vehicle, your hotel reservation, if there's any, you know, parking fees at the hotel where you're at, any extra baggage charge. You know, see, I don't even know how that goes, how much extra baggage you can take, and, you know, the government will accept the expense. So, you know, don't be marching on with 5 suitcases. But you can also make ATM withdrawals, but there are restrictions on that. You can only make them within 5 days of starting travel. You can never make the ATM withdrawal after returning, and you should keep it to what you expect your meals and incidental expenses to be. You aren't floating yourself, you know, a government loan just because you can, you know, make an ATM withdrawal. Of course, common sense, never let anyone else use your government credit card. Do not use it for personal expenses. Now, where people often get caught up, and so we've talked to our finance people about this, you should not use your government credit card to purchase meals on an airplane, because that is centrally billed and it comes in as if it was an airline charge. So don't use your government credit card to purchase meals on an airplane. Don't use it for room service in hotels, because then it's billed to the room charge and it's not a room charge. It's never permissible to use it to rent movies at the hotel. So, you know, be very careful to keep that separate. Local travel, you can never use your charge card for local travel. You need to keep track of your expenses and put in an expense report to be reimbursed. You cannot use your government travel card for that. You will receive a monthly bill. When you receive the bill, it's to be paid in full, even if it's under dispute. Also, something to keep in mind, that promptly paying inappropriate charges doesn't make everything okay. It's not your personal credit card. You know, can't go out and buy yourself a new boat and just pay for it, you know, in cash on time and it just, or anything else, and it doesn't make everything okay. So please keep in mind it's for official government uses. Okay, our next real-life example here. I'm sorry, Nancy. Yeah, this is real life. This is an IG investigation of a USGS employee, actually. And this person used their government-issued credit card. They charged $38,431 in merchandise for personal use. They also concealed the illegitimate purchase by altering receipts to make it appear as if they were purchasing IT equipment. The person pleaded guilty to 1 count of theft of government funds. The public records indicate that the person purchased car stereo equipment, furniture, and a treadmill. So it happens. It's just, you know, you think, what could they have been thinking? How could they even possibly conceive that that would be acceptable to do? I don't care if they were brand new to the federal government and worked in industry for years. I just can't understand how that would be acceptable. But apparently it happens, and this clearly wasn't an innocent mistake. This gentleman went in with malicious intent. So
it's surprising to me that we seem to go through cycles of charge card abuse, and it makes the papers. I forget who was the latest one, probably IRS, with credit card abuse recently, I think. And then, you know, then it makes the papers, and everybody, you know, you're talking about it in your training, and I don't know, a couple of years go by and you think, okay, we've got it licked. They understand that, you know, we don't have to talk about government credit cards, and then boom, it's back. So I guess we just got to keep reminding folks about the proper use of their government credit card and their government charge card, and not to view sexually explicit materials on their computers, and or use it for gambling. So you really think that they would know better, but they don't. Or I guess they do, but they don't care. The next one we're going to talk about, please excuse me, is misuse of the government property again, and it is the GOV, the government vehicle. Again, government vehicles may only be used for official purposes if you're TDY. Am I on the wrong screen? What was it? There we go. TDY rental cars are, again, limited to official use only. You can use it for reasonable use to get food, health, or comfort while you're TDY, but, you know, you really can't be using the government vehicle to drive 75 miles to go to, you know, the fancy restaurant that you want to go to. You know, it should be within the local area and reasonable. And again, no home to work using government vehicle. Maybe there is some rare exceptions for law enforcement. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about for the average employee, no home to work. Again, Nancy and Rainey talked about when it's an event like a widely attended gathering, or you know, if somebody's going in their official capacity, government vehicle may be used. But if it's that local WAG, can't use the government vehicle to attend it in a personal capacity. Because you really don't want to explain this.
Oops. Hate it when that happens. Misuse of government property. We have another scenario for you here, and this one's made up. A senior level GOI employee wanted to throw a party for the individuals in his office. They had been doing a great job, and he just wanted to show his appreciation. So he pulls out his wallet, pulls out $100, hands it to someone in the office, and tells them to grab the government vehicle, run over to the store, and pick up the party supplies for the event that afternoon. Is there any problem with this?
We're getting some head shaking.
Yes, clearly he's not supposed to use the government vehicle for that purpose. That's not really, you know, official government business. He could run into a couple of other things there too, depending on, you know, use of government time, depending on how long this person went out to the store to plan this party, or, you know, whatever. So he could run into a few things there. It's a nice gesture, but he needed to play that one a little bit more safely. another one. Now, here we are for a real-life example. Pretty helicopter, huh? Very nice. Wouldn't it be great if that was coming to greet you, especially if you were a high school senior? Indeed. This is a true-life example. 2 years ago, a D.C. area high school boy asked his girlfriend to a homecoming by having a helicopter fly over the local football field, drop down.
I would be in love.
Yeah, he made points, but but Dad did not. Dad did not. See, they had the helicopter fly over the football field, drop down a stuffed animal with an invitation to homecoming. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that nice? It seemed a little extravagant, but you know, people do all kinds of crazy stunts. We talk about the wild, you know, well, I can't think of a good word, extravagant birthday parties young kids have these days, and, you know, this is a little extravagant, but very nice. Isn't that sweet? Yes. Well,
Customs and Border Protection.
Yes, exactly. It's extravagant, but, you know, only he didn't hire some private company to do it. He used a Customs and Border Protection chopper. And it turns out that the kid's dad was a senior official with Customs and Border Patrol. So this is, I mean, that's abuse beyond abuse. Use of government equipment, use of government time, maybe misuse of his authority. I mean,
and stupidity.
And stupidity. Yes, I had a boss that used to jokingly, he was in employee relations, and he used to say, he wished there was a charge of too stupid to be a federal employee. Just some things like this are just, you know, over the top. So this one certainly is.
Misuse of government time. Employee, again, shall use official time and honest effort to perform official duties. That's in the CFR site. It's also clearly 14 General Principle. An employee shall not encourage, direct, coerce, or request a subordinate to use official time and perform activities other than those required in the performance of official duties. For us, we don't have, Melinda maybe, we don't have, you know, subordinates that we can really, please go get my lunch, please go pick up my dry cleaning and buy my spouse's birthday present. Which in the military department, we often saw abuse of subordinates, you know, the general officer telling a subordinate to do all of these things. So just keep in mind that you can't, you shouldn't be wasting or misusing your subordinate's time.
That is a frequent problem with DOI.
It is. It is. Margaret Bradley is saying that also is a frequent problem at DOI. Can you give us an example?
I once planned the personal vacation of the deputy secretary and his family in Alaska.
Margaret!
Ow! Margaret just ratted herself out on somebody else.
Was it a good vacation?
They seem to have fun. I wasn't along.
And that's funny because someone just said on here that person shouldn't use the employee for his own use either. Well, it's the same. I mean, that's what they were thinking. That if you're running to go pick up dry cleaning or go get lunch, okay, yeah, you're at the job, but that's for your personal benefit if you're doing that. So,
you know, it's one thing for, you know, I am going to the Starbucks, you know, on the basement in the, you know, in main interior, and I look at Melinda and I see, Melinda, I'm going to Starbucks, would you like me to bring back a cup of coffee? And Melinda says, sure, and gets her, you know, her wallet out, and she, you know, she gives me the money, and I do that on my own. Not every day. I think that's fine. But you know, if Melinda was to, you know, hey, it's now performance appraisal time, and where's my coffee? And I'm really thinking about giving you a bonus, but you know, you didn't get my coffee today. So you know, I think there's ways to do it, and that it's okay, but you really need to be careful.
121 degrees.
Yes.
example that I've seen is that, bullying into donation of annual leave of a GS-8 by a GS-15. Of 3 days.
Wow. So what Nicola brought up, she's with the DECWIS Office of Surface Mining and Reclamation, is that? Where, with the leave donation policy where somebody is ill, a GS-8 gave 3 days of leave to the GS-15. Is that what you said?
Actually, the HR department was called to determine if that GS-8 had yet donated the leave. Yeah, he was bullied into it.
Oh.
See, the GS-8 thought, oh, well, I think you donate from your sick leave.
No, you don't.
You donate from your sick leave. You donate from your annual leave.
Yeah.
So it was, and so then the 15 and some other person stood around his desk and said, well, did you donate yet? HR says you haven't.
That's horrible. That's horrible. Did they end up donating, or did people step in?
Donated, yes.
It was?
Voluntarily.
Yeah.
Try proving that it wasn't.
That's ouchy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, yeah.
So it ends up being the GS.
Anonymous. It's supposed to be anonymous.
Yeah, there's something about, like, you're not allowed, aren't you, you're not allowed to donate leave to a superior.
Yeah, there are very specific restrictions on that, you know, who can donate to whom and how it can be done, and if anything comes up like that, you know, make sure you consult with your HR office, and, you know, there's a person there who specializes in leave administration. And if something like that is reported to you, you know, talk to your employee relations specialist and HR, and, you know, coordinate with the person who's in charge of leave administration. At Boehm and Bessie, we have excellent relationships with anybody whose work kind of overlaps or feeds into ours. And we are in such frequent contact with the Human Resources Office, with the Procurement Office, with the Finance Office, with the IT Office. Michelle and I have them all on speed dial, and when we call, they're like, okay, well, there she is again, you know. So we really work as a team, and things go so much better when you do.
So, oops, I'm too fast. Our next example is a made-up one, and this is one from Michelle.
But we don't have the right slide. I think you went the other way. Now go again. No? There you go. There you go.
There we go.
There we go.
Mike is an oceanographer for Boehm. In addition, he has private business setting up websites for individuals and businesses. Mike submitted a request for outside work that was approved by Michelle, his ethics officer. A couple of weeks ago, Mike was asked to represent Boehm at a 5-day conference, and while at the conference, he began talking to someone from another federal agency about the computer software that was being introduced. Mike happened to mention his own personal IT business, and the other gentleman was quite impressed with Mike's computer savvy and knowledge, and he asked if he could set up a website for a nonprofit organization that was run by his brother-in-law. And Mike said, sure, and he gave the gentleman his business card. Has Mike done anything wrong? Yeah, it was not. He's on official, you know, he's in his official capacity representing Boehm at this conference, handing over his business card for, you know, his own personal private activity. He's clearly violating his misuse of position. Time.
Yeah, government time, you know, conducting his private business on government time. So, yeah, big no-no there. So.
Yes, Mike.
While we're speaking of time, I just recently come across a scenario that they were timekeepers for QuickTime, not being afraid to approach coworkers as timekeepers when people were leaving like for hour lunches and documenting a half hour, and supervisors leaving in the afternoon, not coming back, and then not submitting leave slips at the end of the time period. I recently came across that where the timekeepers were approaching me, and I didn't mind, but when I CC'd HR, ERLR personnel, and the regional directors, all of them, nationwide, because if it was happening here, I thought maybe it'd be, nationwide, just to remind them. But while we're speaking of time, I think that sometimes we get thrown into an unusual.
Yes, very, very good.
Yeah, and that's perfect too, that they contacted me, because my first thought is that falls under their responsibility to report waste, fraud, and abuse.
Right. So
they did, when someone calls me like that, and they're often scared. They're afraid they're going to get in trouble, and a lot of times you don't know who they are, and I say, listen, don't tell me your name. Provide the information, or I can take note and say it was reported to me, and then I can go down the line. Who told you? I don't know, and I honestly don't know.
I just right. Told them, hey, this was reported. This is what I'm telling you guys. This is what's going on.
Right. And I always try to do my best to help them feel good about what they did.
You might want to repeat what Mike said.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. If you guys didn't hear, Mike was saying that he received a phone call from someone who was a timekeeper with his bureau, and they were reporting that certain individuals were going for long lunches and not taking leave. Supervisors were leaving early at the end of the day and not requesting leave, and this was a recurring issue, not a one-time matter, and something that, she recognized as being a significant problem throughout the office. So she contacted Mike to make him aware of this. And he did, the person did the right thing, certainly, in reporting it to him, and then Mike followed up by making this known to the higher-level managers, the employee relations specialist in HR. So he followed up. So the employees are often, they feel kind of bad, like they're going to get in trouble if they report something like that. But as we said, Kim said, everything comes back to the 14 principles. And, we're obligated to report waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. And the employee that made him aware of that certainly did the right thing, and then Mike followed through by doing the right thing.
I have three related to both of those. Okay.
Come on over.
I mean, since both Mike and Donna mentioned situations where they became aware of at least an allegation of impropriety or misconduct, I'm just curious. One, what happened in terms of how was that pursued within your bureaus? Do you know what the outcome was? And then three, was that outcome in a sort of general, unidentified way made known to the workforce? So, what happened? Was it investigated? How was that done? Again, what was the disposition? Was some action taken? And were you aware of it? And was that in any way publicized? I mean, is anything happening, basically?
No. Well, in this case here, I reported it to the ERLR conduct, and they did the gentleman that runs the QuickTime did do an analogy of the run a quarry on the supervisor's leave and take them up, and whatever conduct issue I wasn't made aware of, but it was CC'd with all the regional directors, all of mine, to include the bureau directors, saying we probably need to send out an email, and I haven't seen it yet, but it's probably coming somewhere. One of
He said that he reported it. There was the IT folks ran a query of the time cards, and then it was investigated, and then he's not aware of the outcome on that. I have one situation now that recently came up, and then another that was several years ago. Fortunately, it doesn't come up often. It comes up occasionally, but it doesn't come up often. I will, it's not my responsibility or my position to investigate. We have, the supervisor will do that. The HR office is the office that will actually pursue any disciplinary action that's taken against the person. So I make the HR office, the employee relations folks aware. We also have an investigation review unit, an internal unit that will look into employee misconduct, inappropriate actions. I know our HR office works very closely. The situation that I most recently mentioned to them, they're like, okay, we'll make the IRU aware. Okay, this is the person's name that we're going to call specifically. And then, the investigation proceeds from there. Do we follow up with the person that actually reported it? No, because we don't make them aware of any disciplinary action that may have been taken against, someone else. Do I necessarily know the ultimate outcome? No, I don't.
Which I think is not right.
Well, I think that's a weakness.
Yes, and it kind of got to Ed's point. I'm sorry, I'm getting up. Yesterday, when you mentioned that, Deborah Sonderman gave all of this list of misconduct, and we had no idea. So how can we have effective training or proper provide proper training if we don't know what we don't know? So I don't know.
I have a real life scenario. Okay, so I had an employee contact me because they own a Italian ice company on the side, and one of their good friends in their office is on the picnic planning committee, and they thought it would be swell if they could purchase with their government purchase card the Italian ice of this guy's company to come out at the picnic. What do you think about that one?
You can give them a credit card to purchase consumable items.
There's a whole lot wrong with that one. Yeah.
How good is the ice?
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Procurement is cute. Person, yes. I think the guy could have probably donated it. Why didn't he just step up and donate it?
So we're all saying that that's pretty much a no-no, and you got to think about that, though. The people that have their outside businesses, their balloon businesses, their, pampered chef businesses, stuff like that, that somehow want to, not necessarily they want to, but people that know they have these businesses think it's a great idea to incorporate it somehow with the official, activity or whatever. That's probably not a good idea. I did get another question from somebody over the internet, and it was, what about on your official email using a religious symbol under your official signature block?
Ed is raising his hand.
We recently had an outside vendor raise this issue when they received an email from one of our employees. Perhaps this is more of an IT question, but it came to us in ethics. Ed?
I think it's, it points out an issue that we have. The ethics rules say, you can only use government property for authorized purposes. Determining what is an authorized purpose for the use of property is not always an ethics. That isn't necessarily an ethics issue. For instance, on this, you've got OCIO, you've got general law.
Ed is saying that it's really kind of outside of the ethics realm where we have overlapping missions, like general law needs to be involved and the OCIO's office policy on.
I think that it points out an issue where our rules the ethics rules say that you can't use government property except for authorized purposes, but it's not always within the ethics office's bailiwick to determine what's an authorized purpose. And for instance, you know, in our office, that's not our call to make. That would be the Division of General Law would make that, that's where I would go. I mean, it might be OCIO may have some play in it, but that's probably, I mean, that could be considered a constitutional law issue, you know, religious freedom and what you can and cannot do with religious symbols. And so that is not something, you know, you can be involved because it's an allegation of a potential misuse of government property perhaps, but I would probably, if I was in the field, move it up to a deck. They might want to, you might want to send it to us, but the idea is that ultimately it's not going to be an ethics call on whether that was a misuse of property.
Right. Now, my previous agency, Missile Defense Agency, they had, you know, it was in, I think, their IT policy that there was no, you know, there was no nothing. You couldn't have, you know, no religious, you couldn't have no Greek quotes, you couldn't have, you know, a funny saying at all. It was just your signature black. Right. Yeah. But that was a policy call that they, you know, made. I don't know that we have that.
Yeah, and I think too that, you know, there are times when it's probably clear what the authorized uses are. Like we know DOI limited personal use policy, right? If we see someone using the internet or their computer for gambling, we know that they violated the OCIO policy. So we could say, one, you've misused property and therefore you've violated, you know, 704 or whatever it is, 2635.704. We don't take action against them either, right? We turn that over to HR or something like that. But for the areas where we don't have clear guidance on what is or is not a misuse of government property, we'd have to, excuse me, go to whoever is responsible for that.
Just one more slide, so hang in there with me, guys.
But we're not completely done after you're hanging in there with them, okay?
Just common misuse. We got this information from Jennifer with the OIG's office. So what they see most, gambling on government time, operating a personal business, excessive time on social media, excessive time web surfing on non-work issues, obviously. Viewing sexually explicit websites and political activity. Those are the hot buttons that they're seeing. And Ms. Melinda Lofton has a question.
No, I want to give a shout out on your last point here, political activity, that we're in Hatch-Act season and that the Departmental Ethics Office is the Hatch-Act Compliance Office.
Melinda just wanted to say that we are, you know, gearing up for Hatch-Act season again with primaries, you know, ongoing and getting ready for the November elections, and that the Departmental Ethics Office is the Hatch Act Compliance Unit. So, I'll call it maybe. And any questions?
Yeah, now this is an opportunity, and what we're going to actually do is take another one of those powder your nose moments. We'll take a break just for 5. Think of any additional questions, not necessarily in regards to government time and resources. If you wanted to ask a question about speaking engagements or WAGs that you didn't get to ask, or maybe seeking employment or post-government employment, whatever, this is your opportunity. You have the ethics brains at your disposal. So think if you have any questions, and then we have one small video that Melinda Lofton would really like to share with you, and then we'll be done. So let's just take a 5-minute break if you don't mind. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right, so we're back online. We're going to show you a video clip, but before we show you a video clip, does anyone want to type or over the
over the telephone ask any questions? Anyone? Going once. Okie dokie. All right, then we're going to show our video.
Hi, I'm Sally Jewell, Secretary of the Interior. You know, there's no higher calling than public service.
Hold on a second. We're gonna see what we can do in regards to, how about over here? We didn't think about the sound. Yeah, let's try this. And, oh, that's adjusting the screen. No, it's, let's see here, we're gonna try this. Oh, yeah, you're right, it's over there. Okay. Hold on, we're gonna go over there. Over there. Maybe. Hold on, we're gonna try to do the volume a little louder for you. Okay, hold on one second. All right, we're gonna try. Okay, go ahead.
That's Sally Jewell, Secretary. There's no higher calling than public service, and I really appreciate all of you for the dedication and service that you provide to the Department of the Interior and the American people. One of the things the American people expect of us is that we always uphold high ethical standards, that we create a culture around the Department of Interior that's about dignity and respect, respect for the mission, respect for each other, and making sure that we have a loyalty not only to each other but also to the American people, upholding the public trust that they expect of us. That means that it's our job, every one of us, every day, to not only uphold the letter of the laws and regulations that we're required to do, but also the spirit of those laws and regulations, particularly as they relate to ethics. So I'd ask you to join me in
There's a big thing in front. Want to stop and try again?
Okay, we're gonna stop it and try it one more time. Hold on a second. So sorry about this. No, you have to do it. You have to stop it, Margaret. You have to stop it.
I could provide a comment. If everyone there locally could be on mute, it would help us hear it.
Okay, we're gonna try it. Hold on one second. Sorry. It's I uploaded it. I think they'll do it right there. They were happy. Said that they could hear it, it could put it. Oh, maybe we need to turn off our video. Okay, the sound is coming through. Okay, no, let's try it now. Can you go back? No, we're gonna put ourselves on mute on this too, okay? And chat to us if you can't hear it still, or you can see it. All right, so sorry that we were experiencing some technical difficulties, everyone. But we are going to send that out to you so that you can all look at it yourself and also see it and listen to it and share it with others in your offices. So without further ado, unless there is any other comments or questions, I want you to know that all the decks and Melinda Lofton and Ed McDonald are waving au revoir. And like I said, I'd really like to hear from you. I think I got it that this video didn't work so well, so promise next time that will work better. But we really appreciate you hanging in. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your time and everything you do for ethics. So thank you. Have a great today and tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.